There are few pleasures in life greater than sitting down to enjoy a delicious meal with a glass of wine. But we often must rely on this experience to happen thanks to a restaurant or a sommelier. What if we could start to create these pairings ourselves? Hopefully, at the end of this video series, you will be able to. Hi there, I'm Jacqueline for Vero, where we go around the world hunting for wild and scarce wines to bring to consumers, businesses, and distributors across the US. And of course, we often enjoy these wines with our meals or with a bite to eat. Now, this is just part 2 in a 3-part series on food and wine pairing. The idea of this series is to help give you the power to start making pairings on your own and be more confident in your food and wine choices. So, if you missed the first part, I'll be linking it at the end of this video for you to check out. But if you missed it, it just might mean that you are not subscribed, and you should be. So subscribe and click the bell icon now. As well, this whole video series was based originally on a blog article that I wrote on verovino.com. So if you missed that, you need to subscribe to the newsletter, and that way you never miss more content or wine releases again. So in our last video, we talked a lot about the concepts and terminology behind food and wine. These were words like sweet tendency, intensity, succulence, acidity. The idea was we need to analyze and quantify these traits and characteristics present in food and wine, and then determine how those characteristics match up and if they create a harmonious pairing. Basically, all the food terms and the wine terms will work together in one of 2 ways: complementing or contrasting. Think of complementing of intensities, like when you want to build on similarities, or contrasting, such as fattiness or acidity, where opposites attract. You want to cancel each other out in order to cleanse the palate. So what are these combinations? Let's go through them and logic our way to deciding if they are complementing or contrasting. Sweet versus sweetness. Sweet in food and sweet in wine are both directly tied to sugar, but it will be added sugar in food or residual sugars in wine. Here we are looking for sweet to go with sweet, so therefore this is a complementing pairing. Body versus saltiness, bitterness, and acidity. When we consider the body or fullness of a wine, we want to look for foods with similar levels of acidity or saltiness. As well, if you have a bitter dish, a full-bodied wine will help cut through that bitterness. The acidity and that saltiness, savoriness in the food will help to dilute a wine's richness and balance each other out. Therefore, these will be contrasting pairings. Intensity versus spices and aromatic intensity. So, our intensity of wine and intensity of food, which can be influenced by 2 things, spices and the inherent aromatic intensity of the food, are directly related. The more intense a wine, the more intense a food must be, and vice versa. The purpose of this is to avoid a food or a wine overpowering the other. The same goes for finish versus persistence, or how long flavors will last on our palate after we swallow. We want long finished wines to pair with very persistent foods for the same reasons of we don't want one set of flavors to last longer or cancel out the others. So therefore, these are all complementary pairings. Acidity, effervescence, and minerality versus sweet tendency and fattiness. When we have foods with a sweet tendency, like boiled carrots or a white fish, we want to choose a wine with a healthy acidity or good sapidity or minerality. These traits will balance with the sweet tendency, preventing the dish from becoming overly sweet. Similarly, for foods with a lot of fattiness, effervescence is key. Those lively bubbles that are often accompanied by high acidity will cut through the grease and the fat that will help to cleanse the palate and prepare it for the next bite. These are all contrasting elements. Alcohol and tannins versus succulence and greasiness. The tannins and alcohol in the wine will dry out a succulence in food. This prevents excess saliva and helps preserve more flavors. Think of the classic pairing of steak and red wine. This same principle will apply to oily foods, where tannins and alcohol will help to absorb the greasiness. These are contrasting pairings. Now, all of these terms and interactions might seem a little overwhelming in the beginning, but there is an easy way to help you get started visualizing this, and that is called a pairing map. Here, I'll show you one. This is from ICE, the Association of Italian Sommeliers, where I studied and Vero founder Sheila Donahue also studied. This gives us an example how we can use these terms as guides. You taste your food, taste your wine, and then you plot out your points according to how much that you feel of each of the characteristics. Then we connect our dots, and you can see we have an idea of a geometrically represented shape of the food and the wine. The closer they are in shape and size, the more closely matched your pairing will be. We want to see symmetry across the axes. A large point here is met with a large point down here. And we also want to see the area of them roughly the same area as well. This map concept I'm going to explain further in our next video, where I'm going to tie this video, our last pairing terminology video, and our cheese videos all together, and we're actually going to sit down together and demonstrate with a pen and a paper how to create and evaluate a particular pairing. So be sure to subscribe below and click the bell icon to be notified when that video drops. Thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, a like is always appreciated. I will see you with the next video, which might be this one here, where we talk about how to taste food and all the terminology necessary to prepare you for the food and wine tasting. I will see you over there. Bye.